The future hasn't happened yet. Now, that may seem pretty obvious, and it's probably not the most profound way that you could start off a TEDx talk, but I think it's important and even empowering that we recognize that the future is still pending. Because what it means is that we have agency and a real say over the events to come. They can be anything we want them to be. The future is just an unwritten chapter, the next page in our collective story, with over 7 billion writers publishing on the pages of our everyday lives. So, as co-authors and friends, we have to figure out what should happen next. What do we want? Now, not one person is going to have the answer because this is very much a group project. But today, I'd love to share with you some thoughts on how we can go about approaching just one aspect of the next chapter, looking specifically at social technologies and the consumer internet. So let's dive in. Please raise your hand if the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning is reach for your phone and open up a social app, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or something else. Okay. Now put up your hand if you think that is the best possible way that you could start your day. So don't worry, this is a judgment-free zone. And we're all pretty much in the same boat here anyways. The reality is that these technologies, we are spending more and more of our waking hours jacked in to these virtual social environments. I was just reading this morning that the average person is estimated to spend 7 years in a 70-year lifespan using social media. Just think about that. That's 10% of your entire life taking selfies on Instagram. And the remaining 90% is to figure out what captions you need to use for those selfies. But in all seriousness, the problem isn't necessarily the amount of time we're spending per se, but rather, you know, in the vast majority of cases, we just don't feel that this is time well spent, right? We feel that we could probably be doing something more fulfilling in those hours. Just think about it. When was the last time you opened up and logged into a social network and felt, wow, that was amazing? When was the last time you felt a sense of peace or joy? It's probably been a while, right? And this is the problem, that these technologies have become a fundamental part of our lives, but they're not necessarily making us happier, helping us form healthy habits, or even bringing us together on any real emotional level. And you know, this is really a sad irony, because the pioneers of the early internet, they dreamed of a very, very different world. For them, the web was an innovation that would not only take the human race forwards, but unite it for the first time in history. So what happened? If the promise of the internet was to bring us together, then why today, in 2018, is there still so much hate and aggression online? Why is there such a disconnect between the way we behave in the physical world and how we conduct ourselves through our online avatars? Why are attention spans declining to such extreme levels that if a piece of content is longer than 140 characters, we struggle to concentrate? Instead of being authentic and true to ourselves, why is it that on social media we all behave like brands, constantly performing, obsessively curating, in the feverish pursuit of more likes, comments, and shares? How come there are so many platforms online that will help reinforce our existing networks and connections and reinforce our existing belief systems, but very rarely introduce us to new ones? Why is advertising, why are algorithms designed to addict us just so they can sell us more advertising instead of actually working to make us happier? And why do we still feel alone, even though we have thousands and thousands of friends on social networks who we can connect to at the click of a button? These are really important questions that we have to address if we want a more harmonious online future. Because the next wave of technological advancement, it can't afford to be about addiction or advertising or algorithms or even technology for that matter. It needs to be about unleashing the best of human potential. Now, my friends and I have been thinking about this for a while. You know, in our own lives, we became really disillusioned by the state of online communications. You know, most digital interactions just felt shallow and empty. And we always wondered, where is this beast called social media heading to next? And the direction just did not fill us with hope. And so, we decided to embark upon our own mission to meaningfully connect people around the world. We designed an alternative social space called HaikuJAM that was founded on principles of thoughtfulness, of empathy, of creativity, and ridding the world of loneliness. In the HaikuJAM app, all you do is send out one line into the universe, and two people somewhere will pick it up and continue your thought, forming a collaborative poem and unique social connections. You could be jamming with a school teacher in South Korea and a war veteran in San Francisco. You know, what's beautiful about this process is that every conversation becomes a creative expression. Every line that you send out opens the door to new people and new perspectives. HaikuJAM is a place where you can say the things that you never would have said with the best friends that you never would have met. The objective of the system here is not to get you 1,000 likes or make your post go viral or to turn you into some kind of celebrity. It is simply to make sure that you are heard and that your voice matters. This whole idea was born in a London tea shop. And since then, it has become a movement that spans across 120 countries. Over 3 million unique human connections have been forged through HaikuJAM. That's 3 million conversations between strangers that otherwise would never have taken place. And what's incredible is what followed after those conversations. Some jams led to wonderful friendships. Some led to relationships, and that's something we never actually anticipated. There have been meetups in cities all around the world where people meet and jam together in person. But of course, each and every one of these interactions have led to millions and millions and millions of the most thought-provoking short-form collaborative poetry that we call jams, by the way. So what's really cool is that, like, jams can be about anything. You can jam about what you're thinking, how you're feeling, your mood. You can jam to brainstorm. And a lot of people also love to write about current news events. Sometimes a jam can be really funny and take the sting out of an issue and add just a satirical twist that makes you laugh. And other times, a jam can actually make you want to cry. One of the most amazing things I find about this particular jam is that it was written by 3 people from 3 different continents. They are each thousands and thousands of miles away from Syria, and yet they have managed to achieve something here that no news organization in the world has done, and that is emotion. They have helped us to connect to the story and what actually could be happening on the ground in a war zone and how people would be feeling. And for our team, this was a big product lesson. This was a very, very important platform lesson that if you design for empathy, then empathy and understanding will flow. Now, occasionally, a jam will come along that doesn't just lead to new connections and new ideas, but it will actually summon a national conversation and an inquiry into the biases and hypocrisies, some of our darkest hypocrisies that exist in society. So, HaikuJAM, I believe, deserves a place in the next chapter, because not only does it help the world to feel less lonely, but it shows how our everyday small contributions can go on to form something truly beautiful just by channeling human creativity. It shows how much we can actually achieve, how much beauty we can achieve and realize by working together instead of against each other. But of course, HaikuJAM is just a small part of the next chapter. Ultimately, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. entrepreneurs, thought leaders, politicians, artists, philosophers, and just citizens of the world have to come together and design platforms and systems that bring out the best in us, as opposed to designing for our vulnerabilities and our worst instincts. We believe that the next chapter needs to be one where human aspiration is the hero and everything else is just an enabler. So at TEDxDelhi 2028, in 10 years, when we're looking at each other in the eye, we are really proud, not because of the sophistication of our technology, but because of the depth of our humanity. Thank you very much.